Hey Scorpio, what's going on? We are here with a timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is King of Pentacles. And the Fool. And Nine of Pentacles. Okay. King of Pentacles and the Fool, generally when we see this combination, it's connected with like trying something new on or trying something different on and seeing how it goes. So this can be maybe exploring a new job or exploring a new role that you're going to be playing, or it can be exploring a role with a different mindset. You can feel open, but you can also feel ready to explore things in a different way, to explore things in a new way. I'm also seeing Nine of Pentacles here, so this feels like even though you can feel like you are stepping into something, even though you can feel like there's something new or different about this, at the same time having Nine of Pentacles kind of feels like you sort of know what you're doing here. That's a feeling that I get from this. I also feel like this is immediately something that feels enjoyable to you. Because sometimes when we see the Fool, there can be a, I'm stepping into things, but I have no idea what's going on and it's kind of confusing and I feel kind of anxious about this. This doesn't feel like that to me. This feels like, yeah, I'm exploring. Yeah, this is new. Yeah, this is different. But I'm not getting, I see you being like very stable doing this. Like maybe even a sense of confidence here doing this. Now, what I'm also seeing is we have Page of Cups, we have Two of Wands, and we have Two of Cups too. So this is feeling like the next steps that you take, wanting to make sure that they really feel like they are in tune with you. It's not that you're in tune with the next steps, it's that you're deciding the next steps and that they feel in tune with you. So you check in first and you say what's going on, and then the next steps are going to feel reflective of that. I feel strong emotions here that are tied to what happens next and maybe tied to things that are connected with this cycle or even people that are connected with this cycle. This can even be, I'm feeling this, now what am I going to do with that? And again, coming back to this, checking in and saying what's the best way to move forward now. This feels too like immediately enjoying stepping into this with Fool and Nine of Pentacles, because Nine of Pentacles is usually like, I worked and I planted this and I watered it and now it's here and I can enjoy the fruits of my labor. But because we have the Fool here too, it feels like stepping into something and immediately there's like a bunch of things that have been produced already. It's like, instead of stepping into a cycle where it's still just that raw potential of an ace being there, it's a Nine of Pentacles instead of an Ace of Pentacles. So it's not like you have a little seed and then you have to plant it and then you have to water it and then it takes time to grow. And then you get to that point where you can like pull the fruit off of the tree. It's like this cycle just starts with you being able to immediately pull the fruit off the tree. And I feel like this is earned, having us start off with King of Pentacles. This feels like you've done your due diligence to be in this position, and this just maybe comes with the territory now at this point. But it can also feel like you're taking a bit of a chance with this as well. Like maybe there is some small risk involved, or it feels more like a change than anything. You could be worried about getting hurt. I'm not saying that necessarily be like what's gonna happen, but there can be something that you're feeling about that. Because I'm seeing 8 of Swords and I'm seeing 3 of Swords, and this feels like if I keep myself over here, I don't have to face something that would potentially be able to hurt me. But like, is that actually the case? Is this like imagined, or is this actually something? What is this 3 of Swords? I want to know if this is like actually something in the environment, or you're just like, well, it's a possibility. What is this 3 of Swords? I feel like this is something that you know could be a possibility, but it feels like you're thinking that it's a possibility because like you've gotten hurt before, and like what if the same thing happens, like one of those. This actually being reconciled. Interesting. Maybe actually something... I get the feeling of this being about like self-perception, even like how you're being received. I feel like I'm sort of looking into something that, I don't know, this doesn't feel like it's happening now, but it feels like something that you may reference from the past. And this feels like something about like not being understood, or like not being supported. Like maybe there was maybe there was somewhere that you showed up in the past and you felt like you weren't received well. I'm kind of getting that coming up here. Or like somewhere where like you could have had support, or there was potential to have that, didn't get that, and could have felt like it was not only painful, but that there was this feeling of like not being received and not being understood in a place where there was maybe hope for that to happen. The thing is that I'm seeing there be a like not wanting to have that, and maybe this also has to do with like some sort of rejection as well. Like maybe not being accepted too. But then I'm seeing something happening where it feels like there is an embrace that is manifesting. And you can also feel like you're going into this new chapter sort of bearing the weight of something that happened in the past, even though it's not happening now, but you still are kind of feeling that. But it also feels like you're going to make peace with this too. But this can be where hesitation doesn't feel like the right word. It feels like you know when something happens and it's sort of staying with you, and so rather than feeling like you're going into something with a clean slate, you can feel like you're sort of bringing that like baggage with you a bit into the, for lack of a better word, okay? You can kind of feel like you're bringing this in with you. And if this hadn't happened, you could feel like this would feel more like a clean slate, but it doesn't because of something that had happened. But now it feels like if you enter into this anyway, that you're going to be able to make peace with this. So it feels like a place where this can be healed, what it is that you're bringing with you, what it is that you're carrying with you. And I feel like you're going to enjoy being part of something that maybe you weren't before. And this does feel exciting, but it also like brings up this past stuff for you. But again, I'm seeing this be able to be healed here. I do definitely see some type of anxiety about being hurt. Like the more I'm looking at this, but you can feel like this is something that impacts you. Maybe you don't want to be, because I feel like this is something that like influences you, and maybe also something that limits you. And it feels like being distracted by that and like not seeing the Two of Cups. So you can feel like this is something that sort of separates you from yourself a bit here, and it can be something that enters into relationship dynamics that can kind of block a little bit, but then also wanting to work with that, maybe also learning about that to try to get something to balance out here. Seeing Page of Cups and having the Devil below, I mean, having Page of Cups and having the Devil can sort of like amplify things, okay? It's gonna take something out of a moderate, the word like moderative is coming through. I don't even know if that's a word. It takes things out of a place of moderation. And so the normal Page of Cups, like without having the amplification of the Devil, can just be like something is popping up and you're feeling it, and there can be something that you're going to be doing because of that. But when we have the Devil there, it can take something that's meant to be, oh, I'm getting a feeling about this, I'm getting a sense of direction about this, I'm even feeling something emerging within me where now this feeling is developing. The Devil can have this influence that really takes this to the extreme. So rather than this being like in a maybe appropriate given the situation, the Devil feels like something that makes this very extreme. So rather than like in maybe even in a codependent way, it can be something like that, kind of like what I'm seeing here. So we go from the Page of Cups, and this can even be something that like introduces fear. It can be something that introduces anxiety. It can be something that introduces like a frenzied energy. So when we have Page of Cups there, it can be like, let's say you're connecting with something or someone and you're like getting more familiar and you're getting closer. When we just have the Page of Cups standing alone, it can be like, wow, this is introducing a feeling to me, and this is something that's beginning to build. It's something that's beginning to grow, and it feels appropriate given the circumstance. When the Devil becomes involved, something becomes very extreme with it, and so things become very intense, things become very magnified, and it can even set you on a path of fear. Like it can be, instead of me enjoying this experience of like, wow, I'm developing a connection with another person, it can be like, where are they? What are they doing? What's going on? Like it can sort of send into this place where you start feeling this separation from yourself and from that feeling of centeredness within you. And there's this distraction, and it feels too like an outward projection. And this can be of like anxieties and stuff, anything that was sort of like control or manipulate that can be surfacing, that can take things into a dimension that is actually connected with pain and not connected with that pure sense of connection. So something then happens with the energy. And this feels like the devil is looking at Eight of Swords, Three of Swords, Three of Cups. And so this can be like, I don't want something to happen here that I don't want to be experiencing. Like Page of Cups is like, I'm having these feelings and now something is becoming very extreme, but the devil can be like, shouldn't you be worried about this? Shouldn't you be worried about that? And then it has you acting out because of it. Or like that can be the feeling or the impulse anyway. But the thing is that the devil is looking over there at the potentially painful situation and not at the Two of Cups, not at that connection, not at the purity of that connection. And so it can begin sort of dismantling things here. And it can also bring an element into things that sort of sets things off, like it becomes out of balance. There can even be a fixation on things socially as well, and that being part of it. It will also feel ungrounded too. I feel as well like this can be, like you can be aware, like maybe you're starting to focus on the wrong things as far as what you want to be focused on. Because the devil can show up and be like, oh, you have feelings now. Like, shouldn't you have to worry about this? Shouldn't you have to worry about that? What if this thing is happening over there? And it just becomes very chaotic. And it feels like something next is going to be done, and there needs to be a working with sort of your feelings to figure out what the appropriate next steps would be. But because we have the devil here, it can kind of distort things a bit. And it can dislodge some of the energy. So it feels like needing to focus back on something in a way that brings things back into center, where we have that Two of Cups and Six of Pentacles. Where there is that reciprocity, where there is that balance within you that will also connect with balance within the relationship, balance within the dynamic. Because I do feel like something is joining now. I do feel like something is coming together now. But because of feeling this fixation of, I feel again like this is potentially being hurt and based off of something from the past that's now being like projected onto the present as something that almost feels like imminent at times. And then checking that part of yourself, working with that part of yourself. Devil and Three of Pentacles can say like, hey, I'm becoming out of balance here. Like, how do I check this part of myself? How do I work with it? How do I understand this? Where is this coming from? Instead of sort of giving into the impulses of that energy and going into those extremes, is sort of holding that within yourself and working with it and taking it apart and then figuring out what the best way is to move forward. And I think how to, more than anything, bring things back into a place where it feels like there's a centeredness. Because I wonder too if like Eight of Swords is this something that I'm worried about, and then it's connected with the Two of Cups. Like, sure, a relationship can be part of this, but you can feel like there's anxiety brewing that has to do with your connection with yourself, that something is happening here, and you can feel like you're starting to, like something is happening and you're starting to be pulled apart from yourself, like there's a splitting off that's happening. And needing to merge this back together And that can be where some of this feeling is coming from. There is something new that's being explored here. And there can also be an embracing of a different way of thinking, a different way of seeing things, and one that feels like you're connecting with something more developed, more advanced even, with the Fool. And then having that Three of Cups and having Page of Cups does feel like there's some type of like emotional venture that's happening here. And there's some type of reintegration with you in a place, from a place where the purity of feeling within you and the purity of intuition within you, you are reconnecting with that and working with that to bring yourself back together here. Any parts of you that you feel like have become frayed within this process, it is a reintegration, learning how to reintegrate everything. And as that is happening, you will also find too that your relationships with other people also are reflective of this. King of Pentacles, Three of Swords, Nine of Pentacles feels like I put in work and I have sort of built this in order to enjoy it. But there is pain that I'm experiencing that's not allowing me to enjoy something that's right in front of me. So Nine of Pentacles is that thing that we want to enjoy. And then that Three of Swords feels like blocked from that. And so this feels like it becomes very prevalent and highlighted and then needs to be dealt with. Because you can also feel too like it doesn't allow you to see clearly from a place where you feel like I'm thinking clearly here. It can be something that has you going about things a way where you wouldn't if this would be resolved, if this would be being dealt with. Because this, again, this comes from a place of pain within. And I think fear of experiencing pain again. And there's a disconnect that happens with this. And that is why it's meant to be addressed. And knowing too that this is something that you are capable of working with, but needing to work with yourself. This isn't just like, I have to work with them, I have to work with them, I have to work with them. This is like, you need to work with yourself here. Because if that's not happening, it doesn't matter how much external work you're doing, the catalyst is still not being resolved. And this being something that needs to happen here in order for this to be integrated. And it just feels like it's time for this, as far as like where you are with things, that this is something that needs to be taken care of. I also feel like it's important for this to be addressed now because it seems like kind of a bit of a new chapter is starting here. And it feels again like not a completely clean slate stepping into this. And so taking care of this now can maybe put you on a trajectory that you would prefer being on rather than sort of having this be here. There's a weight of responsibility that I'm seeing. There's also a stepping into something that can feel a bit uncomfortable because of what it brings up. And then you feel like you're not as free. And then addressing this so it can be addressed. Because it feels again like it's not allowing you to enjoy something in a way that you really could. And you can say, that's motivation enough for me to want to address this. Because it's not allowing me to enjoy this. It's not allowing me to enjoy what's in front of me. And I feel strongly like this is something that you've work to build. And so like invest and invest and invest, and now you have something in front of you that you can really enjoy. And like having this Three of Swords sort of getting in the way of doing that, this can be something where you're like, no, I need to find a way to address this so I can heal this. Because it feels even like, it feels like being blocked from enjoying the fruit of your labor. And so it's kind of like almost off limits to you, or the impact of it is less felt, like you're less present to it because of this other thing that's going on. And it just feels like a headache that sort of stuns the rest of your senses and doesn't allow you to be fully present to this. And so you can't get the full benefit of it, and then you also can't fully enjoy it either. And I do feel like Page of Cups and the Devil has to be addressed, because I feel like something emotionally is born from this. That you can feel like really distorts things intuitively and emotionally. And you can feel too like it, like for some of you, sure, it can feel like things become out of control, but it can also feel like something that you're sort of, you want to be liberated from, so you have that full access there. This is going to help things feel like there is a true sense of reciprocity that is reflected, rather than feeling like something's a bit off here. I want to see if there's anything else. Yeah, I get in a bigger sense that this is fear motivated. That's where this is coming from. And it feels kind of extreme. This feels like extreme anxiety or extreme worry, extreme overthinking that's happening, to the point where it's like a feeling comes up and it has a pure message for you, and then it becomes distorted, like going through all of this stuff. So by the time it gets to you, like you can't even really get what the pure message is. Like it's something else that comes through, but it's not really the pure feeling, and it's not really the pure intuition. It's something else. And this can be something that brings up stuff that feels difficult to work with. However, if this is something that you're willing to work with, you can also feel too like you are going to be liberated from this. Like it's not going to be something sort of trailing behind you anymore. It's not going to be something... There's a word coming through. I think infliction, afflicted. So you're not going to feel afflicted by this anymore. This is dealt with. This is also something that can create a, like, becoming really grabby about things and, like, wanting to sort of force things when, like, let's say a situation is actually fine as it is, but then this energy starts coming up, and then there's the, like, fixation, wanting to move things around, wanting to do this, wanting to do that. It should be like this, it should be like that, like, concerned about stuff. It feels like it blocks you from being able to truly hear, and then something else sort of comes out of it. And it feels like it doesn't allow you maybe to properly, like, show up in this situation as you would if you were in a place where the message were coming out in a pure way. And that's why this needs to be dealt with. Because you're meant to be like going into things with a spirit of discovery and openness. And it feels like I'm trying to take the next steps, but when I do, like, the big thing is just staring at me. But what you'll see is that in dealing with this, you will dissolve it because it will become integrated, and then you will be released from this. And it feels like it's going to allow you to enjoy things the way that they are. It's going to allow you to enjoy that sense of connection, and it will feel like something truly does come together. And that it is received well, and that balance comes back into play. Like there is something that becomes level again. I will say that I do feel like part of this came from maybe somewhere where you were giving energy where it was not, you like didn't get something back. I feel a sense of like rejection or something, like not being reciprocal, something of that nature. I feel like it's connected with that. And it can be something that you still feel impacted by. This can actually be something that blocks you both from closeness with yourself and you resisting intimacy, but it can show up in a way that's not like the first interpretation of it. Because I'm actually seeing something about a closeness here and like even a facing of self, but there can be ways that you become distracted by things externally so you don't have to face yourself. And so there can be a like, let me look at this over there, let me look at that, it's like all of these things that sort of keep you from that intimacy with self. And then you can also feel that within your relationships as well. That can be something that comes into play, but it can just show up in ways that you really have to be looking for it in order to see, because it may not be these like obvious ways that this materializes. This can be in ways that you're not always aware of. It can just show up in funny ways where you're like, oh, when you look into it deeper, you see that that's what's happening, but like face value, maybe it didn't seem like that. It feels like not looking at yourself like eye level, like turning away from the mirror. And again, this can be something that's playing out within a relationship for some of you. Some of you can be multiple relationships. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.